This is a never-ending battle of manipulation. And I have this list here today. But before I read this list, I want to give a special thanks to Joy Reid at the Readout and to Ray because I saw your show. And thank you so much for calling out the behaviors of the predecessor. Now, I will read from my list. And the reason why I'm bringing these lists up is because in my time, I didn't have the names of all the different behaviors, but we dealt with people that had a lot of these behaviors and we didn't know how to deal with them. And so maybe this is a good time to say, hey, just listen to this list and what or who does this sound like? Or do you have anybody in your family that might have these characteristics? And by the American Psychiatric Association, they give you this grocery list and they say, well, maybe 5 out of 9 of these characteristics or trait can possibly put them in a category or say that they have this particular disorder. Now, from my list, this list is about a paranoid narcissist. Now, the paranoid narcissists have constant suspicion and distrust of others, grandiose sense of self-importance, a need for excessive admiration and attention. He has a lack of empathy, manipulating and controlling behavior, exaggerated sense of entitlement, persistent feelings of jealousy and envy, easily offended, quickly angered, perceived attacks on their character and reputation, and feel like everybody's after them and everything is a witch hunt. They have the inability to take criticism, difficulty in forming genuine, intimate relationships, making friends, and getting along with their family. They have a superiority complex, difficulty accepting responsibility for their actions, and they're compulsive liars, exaggerating about their achievements. They have hypersensitivity to perceived slights or criticism, and it makes them mad. The slightest little thing, any little thing that you mention about this particular narcissist will throw them into a hissy. They lack accountability for their behavior. They have the inability to see things from other people's perspective. They have an inability to trust others. Paranoias about being betrayed or taken advantage of. The tendency to project their insecurities on others. Now, there's a case going on. And in that case, I think it's Fonnie Willis. And I'm trying to figure out, why is Fonnie Willis on trial? Yes, there may have been some things that she's done, but nothing compared to what the predecessor has done. They don't even add up. But yet and still, this person still has the ability to send his flying monkeys out to do his bidding, which he doesn't care anything about any of these people that's collecting and gathering this information to get him back into position. And when he get through using his supply, then he's going to go to the next person or the next group of supply to do more of his bidding by proxy. Seeing this list here, just all I can think about is I don't see the behaviors of Fonnie Willis on this list. I've went over it. I've looked at it several times. And then again, I don't know Fonnie Willis. I haven't been around her. And the behavior that I've seen from the courtroom doesn't even compare to the behavior of the predecessor. There's no comparison. But it doesn't matter uh, when Fox displays the news. You think that this lady should get the gas chamber, but they're not promoting the behavior of the predecessor or calling his behaviors out for him to not be able to go back and have the power to become the next president of the United States. Fonnie doesn't display any of this behavior. And yes, I'm going to say it again. From the information that I've seen so far that has been presented, well, she doesn't look like a paranoid narcissist. And she there's many lists that has come up, and I don't quite see her on those lists either. But like I say, democracy is at stake, and Fannie Willis will not be the one running the country. And once all this information comes out on her, whatever she's done, I will say it again, it's nothing compared to what the predecessor has done and been convicted on, and still has continued to harass people, and still is going after E. Jean Carroll and hopping on Twitter and doing everything that they're asking him not to do. It's amazing. Now, if you go, or if you're in school, let's say we'll go back to school, and they ask a child that acts out, do they know right from wrong? And if there is a line where they may not understand, there will be a manifestation hearing. Well, the predecessor has been before many courts, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Yes, his behavior has just totally been out of control. But the bottom line is the actions of his behavior is being rewarded and asking for placement to get back into office. Whereas if you're in school as a kid, you can be dispelled, lose your placement, and not allowed back into that school system or district. So my question is, why are they rewarding the predecessor's behavior? Why is he allowed to go in, and anybody that gets in his hair, criticize him, will be yanked from their position when he has committed all types of crimes and still being allowed to run? And I think I've lost all respect for the Supreme Court. I don't see anything, well, not for everybody on the Supreme Court. Let me correct that. But I've lost respect for maybe that title, but some of the people still are in good standing. So, once again, I read that list because I want people to know that for me, whether it's Democrat or Republican, that's what maybe they're looking at. I'm looking at that person's mind, and that mind uh, doesn't need to be in charge of the country because he is not in charge of himself, nor does he have control of his mind. And it's a behavior that everyone can see. It's not a hidden disability, it's blatant. And he knows exactly what he's doing. Now, if I have to come up with another list and get on here and read it, I will, because it is so important that the pieces of the puzzle come together and you can understand what this predecessor's uh, behaviors checklist looks like. It doesn't look like Fonnie Willis to me. No, it doesn't. And they could say I'm biased, but still, Fonnie Willis' behavior doesn't rank anywhere near uh, this type of behavior. But this behavior reminds me of the flying monkeys out there gathering all this evidence for him. And that's what happens when you trigger somebody that's narcissistic. They send everything after you. They will make your life a hell nonstop. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the predecessor get out his box, get his wand out, and get his flying monkeys out there to what? To take this lady down. Now, I hope that whatever comes out of this, I hope, and I sincerely hope that she can carry on with the case, because there is no comparison to her behavior to the predecessor's behavior. And if her emotions are running high, she's defending her integrity. And like I said, people make mistakes, but how many mistakes had the predecessor made? How many? And how many times have you got to get on the news in the morning and hear it read over and over and over, and it's stuff still getting added, and he's still getting on Twitter. But yet and still, it's like you hell bent on closing that gap between intentional and unintentional behaviors. But once again, I did not have this information coming along in my time, or I wasn't exposed to it, or I didn't know these different types of narcissists, from being a paranoid narcissist to being a daredevil or a somatic narcissist, or uh, being under the dark triad or tetrad. I didn't have that information, but that information is available. And if you want to get a better understanding of the predecessor, then please read. Please um, read about his type of behaviors. Educate yourself on it and see what will happen or what he will execute once he's back in the office. In office. So on that note, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna read some more. I'm gonna learn as much as I can. Never stop learning. Uh, and I wanted you all to have that information, because another list will come up, and I'm quite sure he'll appear on it. Because one thing about a diagnostic assessment, when you go in, you don't come out with just one thing. It's kind of like they give you a pill and there's a side effect. There's not one side effect. There's almost 20 things on the list. And that's what happens with a diagnostic evaluation. And that's something that under the Goldwater rule because of it was the Psychiatric Association couldn't speak out. That just took took it closed the gap really. And here was an opportunity that when they saw this behavior that they could speak out. But no, that's not what happened. It's like they're hiding behind that rule, and it should be more uh, psychiatrists coming forward, speaking out. And I've seen some psychiatrists come out and speak. But once again, I'm going to bring another list, or I'm going to keep trying to have eyes wide open, not eyes wide closed, because this is something that we all need to know. And democracy doesn't need to be in the dark because of a person that has a never-ending battle of manipulating people and has a big ego, and everything else is small. So on that note, I'm going to go. And thank you for listening.